champ now.
Yes, I didn't say. What are you looking so sad about, champ?
I'm surprised. I mean, I'm really insulted. That's not right, what you just said.
What do you mean, what I just said?
I mean, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm late getting home, but you talking. I said something about the greatest heavyweight champ, man. I'm a hometown man, and you talking about Joe Louis, man. Joe Louis wouldn't be nothing for me. Joe, I tell you, Joe, do you think you would have stood a chance with me?
Well, Clayton, one time during my career, I was on a Formula One tour.
I would have been a bum compared to you.
What's happening, my people? It's Cast Sports again, back for another afternoon with the family. That's right. You know what time it is. If it's Monday through Friday, 2 p.m., it's the Boxtorian bringing you all that boxing history. Boxing is the greatest sport of them all. That's why we love it. Can't get enough of it. Salute to Miss Cass. Salute to everyone. And welcome to another episode of Cass Sports, the Boxtorian. Today, the night Vegas became boxing's capital. The night Vegas became boxing's capital. Has a family today. Excuse me. It's Tuesday. Still very early in this big week of boxing history we got coming up. Here we're going to talk about the first big major fight in Las Vegas. It was a heavyweight fight between Archie and Nino Valdez, promoted by Doc Kearns. He used to be the manager for Jack Dempsey way back in the day. This was up in the 50s. He was still active. Doc Kearns. And then we're going to talk of some more things about Archie Moore, since we're going to be on him. we'll talk a little bit about that trilogy between Archie Moore and Ezzard Charles. We're going to go in deep on that one of these days, that trilogy, but we're going to touch on it briefly today. Three fights between Archie Moore and Ezzard Charles. Ezzard Charles won all of them, but they say that Ezzard is the best light heavyweight of all time. He actually was never champion at light heavyweight. Okay, he got his titles at heavyweight. We're going to look at Ezzard and Archie's good trilogy today. And we got a couple of birthdays today. Kid Chocolate and Kid Gavilan. Kid Chocolate was born January 6, 1910. Kid Gavilan was born January 6, 1926. These two Cuban greats, both born today, 16 years apart. And time permitting, at the end, we're going to do a little thing on the two birthday boys up today. Kid Chocolate and Kid Gavilan, two Cuban greats. Kid Gavilan is known for inventing the bolo punch. The Boxing Menu podcast in the building. Salute. Boxing Menu podcast. How are you today? Yeah. The night Vegas became boxing's capital today. Yep. And just mentioning the birthday people today, the two Cuban greats, Kid Chocolate, Kid Gavilan. Gavilan, January 6, 1910. Kid Chocolate, January 6, 1910. Kid Gavilan, January 6, 1926. In time permitting, we're going to talk about them at the end, if we have time. Look to the Boxing Menu podcast in the building. Okay. But we're going to get started out with our fight of the day in a few moments. But it's Tuesday. Got a big week of boxing history in front of us. Friday, we're going to profile Brian Castano. Life and career of Brian Castano. He had those two fights with Mel and made all that money, and they said the exchange rate is off the charts. And he's from Argentina. So he went down there, probably became a billionaire with the money he made in the two Mel fights, having 4 cents. What was that, like 2023? Yeah. We're going to talk about Brian Friday, his life and career, what he's doing now with himself. We're looking at him as a former boxer. But now let's get into the fight of the day for today. Get this thing started. Still in the first week of the new year, 2026. January the 6th. Okay. But now, without further ado, let's get into our fight of the day for today. Okay, so the fight of the day today is Sugar Ray Leonard versus Thomas Hearns 2. June 12th, 1989. A draw? Come on, man. Leonard Hearns 2. June 12th, 1989. A draw? Come on, man. They know Hearns won that fight. But they called it a draw, but let's get into it. This was like 8 years after the first fight. No one imagined that would happen because they fought at welterweight in 81. And everybody just knew, if not an immediate rematch, by 1982. They fought 8 years later, like 3 weight classes up. Junior middleweight, super middleweight. 3 weight classes from where the first fight was at 8 years later. Both in their 30s by that point. But let's talk about the fight of the day. Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas Hearns 2. Thomas Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard 2. This was really the last great fight from the Four Kings rivalry. Leonard Duran was actually the last one, but this is the last great one because Leonard Duran was anything but great. So Thomas Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard 2. The last great fight from the Four Kings series. Again, June 12th, 1989. Thomas Hearns' name goes first in this headline because, as is boxing tradition, the winner goes first. Okay, officially, there was no winner. But Hearns and Leonard got it on in their long time coming rematch. The official result was that of a 12-round draw. But if you ask anybody back then who won that fight, and if you ask anyone the same question now, around 90% of the replies you get will say the hitman was robbed, that he deserved that decision. Okay? June 12th, 1989 marked the last great fight in the decade-long rivalry that has been celebrated as the Four Kings. Between them, Leonard Hearns, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, and Roberto Duran, two kings all lit up the sport. They dominated the world of boxing, taking their attention from the heavyweight division. And what epic fights these four legends gave us. Three of these giants are still with us to bask in the glory today. You know, the Marvelous one no longer with us. But Hearns, Duran, Leonard, still around to bask in their glory. Somebody said Duran's still fighting down there in Panama. You bear with me for one moment. I don't know what I just did. Excuse me, Christmas. I'm glad nobody's in here yet because I done messed up big time. Oh, boy. There we go. I'm back. Okay, yeah. Hearns, Leonard Duran still with us today. Okay. Now, Duran, Leonard, and Montreal kicked it all off in 1980. And for some, the 15-round battle Duran and Leonard gave us stands out as the best of the thrilling Four Kings wars. For others, it's the 3-round slugfest that is Hagler Hearns. For others still, it's the first showdown between Leonard and Hearns. This, when the two at their peak, welterweights collided in a unification fight. Both had titles at that point. Okay? But some fans love the Hearns-Leonard rematch best of all, if not that drawn verdict that accompanies it. A lot of people like the fight, but not the verdict, not the draw. 8 long years after the first fight, and up at super middleweight, the veteran versions of Hearns and Leonard rumbled in Las Vegas. And though both men had slowed down, the action was at times savage. There was pride on the line. That and one monstrous craving for revenge on the part of Hearns. The 1981 stoppage loss hurt Hearns bad. It irked him severely. The hitman had to make amends. For years, Hearns feared he would never get a return go at his nemesis, Sugar Ray. Right? Leonard had retired due to retinal trouble in 1982. He had then returned, but had once again retired again after shocking Hagler in 1987. Okay? So Hearns thinking, I'm never going to get another shot at this man. Hearns, in the meantime, had got busy collecting belts in 3 additional weight divisions, disproving his greatness. But the Leonard loss remained as Hearns' defining fight, the one he was still best known for. The Hagler War ran a close second. And then, finally, with Leonard having launched yet another comeback, the return fight was on. Hearns was 30, Leonard was 33 for the return match. The rematch was dubbed The War, and the sequel proved to be a far better, more action-packed fight than many had anticipated. Hearns, the thinking went, was shot. Tommy having been shocked by Iran Barkley the summer before. Hearns then barely surviving the heat of a determined James Kitchen. Leonard, going into the rematch, stated how it would be a good fight for 5 rounds. Then it's going to be my show. Instead, it was a great fight for all 12 rounds. Leonard, once again, having real and constant problems with Hearns' long reach and the wickedly powerful right hand following behind it. And Leonard was soon in trouble. Decked in round 3, Leonard was 4 points behind after 3 sessions, or so we thought. Leonard, rallying in spurts, had his moments, with him hurting Hearns badly in the 5th round. But Hearns was utterly a man possessed, his performance inspired by a thirst for revenge, as well as by the sound bites that came from his trainer, the great Emanuel Stewart. This is what makes a great fighter. It was life and death for Sugar Ray once again. Hearns seemed to leave no doubt when he dropped Leonard heavily again in round 11. For the second time, his vaunted right hand once again striking with venom and accuracy. Leonard wore a bemused look as he listened to the count of the referee. A final desperate rally by Leonard, who dug in and showed some of his old greatness, came close to putting Hearns down in the final round. But this time, unlike in the 13th and 14th rounds in 1981, Hearns was able to hang on. Yeah, Leonard came on strong at the end again, but Hearns was able to hang on this time. Now the two embraced at the bell, and all of Vegas applauded their efforts. But then came the decision. 113-112 for Hearns, 113-112 for Leonard, and the third judge had it even at 112-112. The two were now, in the words of Leonard, 1-1. Yeah, Leonard did admit later that Hearns did beat him. So after that, we just knew we'd see a third fight, right? No. Leonard had had enough of Hearns, even if Hearns wanted more of Sugar Ray. The two fought on, with Hearns becoming light heavyweight champion for a second time in 1991. Leonard and Duran closed out the Four Kings rivalry with a dull affair in December 99, before Leonard pushed his luck into further comebacks with losses to Terry Norris and Hector Camacho. But we never saw another Hearns and Leonard. Nope. Maybe Leonard would have been better off fighting a third fight with Hearns instead. As fans, we sure wanted to see it. Thomas Hearns and Sugar Ray Leonard, two all-time greats who brought the special stuff out of each other. Should have ended up 1-1, but it ended up 1 Leonard, 0 Hearns, 1 draw. And there you have it. The fight of the day ended in a draw. Sugar Ray Leonard, Thomas the Hitman Hearns. All right. So today, the night Vegas became boxing's capital. Okay. So let's get into that. The night Las Vegas became the capital of boxing. All right. This was Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. Was the first big fight out there. Las Vegas, Sin City. And then we're going to talk some more about Archie Moore after this. And then we're going to talk about Archie Moore and EZZARD Charles trilogy. We're going to go deep into it on another day, but we're going to briefly touch on it today. And then we're going to take a look at the two birthday people today. Two great Cuban fighters, Kid Chocolate and Kid Gavilan. Yep, time permitted. Also got something on Bob FITZSIMMONS too. Yep. Okay, so let's get started. The night Archie Moore made Las Vegas boxing's capital city today. There's Archie Moore. I don't know who the other guy is. Salute the Boxing Menu podcast in the building so far. Appreciate you. Somebody told me yesterday Shakur Stevenson is not a technical fighter. This is somebody I thought really knew boxing. Shakur Stevenson not a technical fighter. What in the hell is it? It's kind of like the epitome of a technical fighter, right? But I thought. But yeah. He said Shakur is not a technical fighter. I'm like, what? He fit that person, fit that more what Roger Mayweather said about not knowing much about boxing. But okay. Although there were many ideas for locations floated for the September 13th battle between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford, it's only fitting that it took place in Las Vegas. Though the venues have varied over the years, the city has been the epicenter for the biggest fights in the history of the sport of boxing, a lineage that Canelo and Crawford already belongs in. It's a city that is steeped in boxing history for the last 70 years, a place where some have assured their names will be in lights forever, and others have found themselves in the neon graveyard. The fabric of the city feels as though it was woven specifically for boxing, and more specifically for its biggest fights. The win or bust mentality of the felt tables reflects the requirements of the squared circle and the infrastructure of the city, with plentiful hotels, offers ample lodging and spacious floor plans for fans and hangers-on alike to mingle in before and after fights, and requisite donations to those tables. Vegas wasn't built for boxing, but the version of Sin City we know today exists in large part due to boxing. The boom of the 1960s and the tycoon race to build casinos was predated by only a few years by the city's first true marquee fight, the May 2nd, 1955 heavyweight battle between Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. May 2nd, 1955. Oh boy, what's going on here? Bear with me, please. Oh boy, having a little technical difficulties with my display. Oh, there we go. Okay, we're back. Yeah, the city's first marquee fight, May 2nd, 1955, the heavyweight battle between Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. There's Archie with some members of the International Boxing Club. Now, boxing in the mid-1950s was in a turbulent period, as a sport experiencing a boom in popularity thanks to the advent of television, but also severe existential threats stemming from the technological advancement, but also much seedier business. At this point in time, it wasn't unusual for more than half of the television sets in the country to be tuned into Gillette or Pabst Blue Ribbon Friday night fights. However, the markets those fights tended to be staged in, New York, Chicago, and Detroit, were seeing major dips in the quantity of events promoted and tickets sold to them. People were opting to watch boxing at home or at the local pub with a television, rather than pay the admission fee and come to the venue. Okay? These cities were run in a boxing sense by James Norris and Arthur Works, who formed the International Boxing Club of New York. Now, Norris and Works would go on to be best remembered for their time in professional hockey, which they also essentially ran at this time, only half of the 16 National Hockey League. But at this point, were essentially the conveners of boxing. Thomas Hill in the building. What's up, Thomas Hill? We are talking about the fight that made Las Vegas boxing capital. May 2nd, 1955, Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. First big marquee fight in Las Vegas. Salute, Thomas Hill. How are you today? Always a pleasure to see you. Okay? Yeah, those guys did with Archie Moore, Arthur Worth, and James Norris were in charge of the International Boxing Club, and they were running boxing. And you knew who they were in bed with, right? However, it wasn't necessarily Norris and Worth that dictated what would happen in boxing. It was their friends in the world of organized crime, namely Frankie Carbo and Blinky Palermo. By 1961, Carbo and Palermo were in prison after being prosecuted by U.S. Attorney General Robert F. Kennedy, following a 3-month trial that exposed the sport's unsavory connections and rampant fight fixing through the mob. Okay? In the mid-50s, this was more of an open secret, one even written about in the pages of Sports Illustrated by columnist Bud Schulberg in 1954, unsettling the status quo in the sport. One thing that had remained constant for several decades was the prominence of manager-promoter Jack Doc Kearns, who always seemed to have at least one mainstream star in his stable and one more scheme up his sleeve. Okay? Kearns was the mastermind behind the sport's first $1 million gate when his charge, Jack Dempsey, faced George Carpenter in 1921. And Kearns was also the mastermind behind the bankruptcy of an entire town when Dempsey's fight against Tommy Gibbons in Shelby, Montana, tanked to a historic extent and bankrupted the town. So when Kearns began floating the idea of a fight in Las Vegas, the question, provided it happened at all, was whether it would rival Dempsey Carpenter or be the end of Las Vegas before it even got started. Okay? And there's Archie Moore and Doc Kearns right there. No, that's wrong way. Went backwards. There's Archie Moore and Doc Kearns, promoter, manager. He was all the way back from the 20s, still active in the 50s. He was the one that promoted the first $1 million gate. Jack Dempsey, George Carpenter in 1921. Now, as always, Doc Kearns, who was described as the Los Angeles Times, he was described by the Los Angeles Times as one of sports' great con men of the century. Kearns always had a few tricks up his sleeve, ones that would become go-to maneuvers in the modern world of boxing promotion. Now, Archie Moore was a notorious resistor of mob influence on his fights, despite holding the light heavyweight championship. Archie would never play ball with the mob. He'd been calling for a showdown with heavyweight champion Rocky Marciano, but didn't seem to be getting any closer, despite being on a 19-fight winning streak dating back to 1951 that saw him score multiple wins over Joey Maxim and Harold Johnson. The old mongoose was well old by this point, but still a ways away from his final chapter as a fighter. On May 16th, Marciano would face Don Cockell in the defense of his title, battering the Brit in the daylight of San Francisco. Now, despite Marciano still being an active champion, Doc Kearns decided he would create and issue a new title, the Heavyweight Championship of Nevada, with the implication of being that Marciano had avoided Moore and Valdez, who had also been campaigning for a fight against the Brockton Blockbuster, and that the real champion was the winner of his fight, Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. So Doc Kearns invented a whole new belt, the Championship of Las Vegas. And he was saying the heavyweight champion would be the winner between Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. This big fight that was getting ready to happen in Las Vegas. This was the first big marquee fight that happened there. Now, though this was an era of singular divisional title holders, they still had some minor belts for the purpose of boosting promotion that predated the preponderance of the sanctioning bodies by many, many years, even long before this one, those secondary belts. But for the most part, it was an era of singular divisional title holders. Most divisions just had one champion, although there were some little minor belts. Now, Kearns also syringed what will become the lifeblood of boxing for many years and a critical gambling chip in promoting fights, site fees from casinos. Now, though the fight itself would be staged at Cashman Field, which a few months prior had hosted an exhibition baseball game between the New York Giants and Cleveland Indians to a crowd of over 12,000. Kearns sourced funds from local casinos who bankrolled the fight in anticipation of making the money back through hotel reservations and gambling. Kearns was counting on a lot of people coming into town that weekend for the fight and then gambling at the casinos. BVO Sports TV, which, the mob had a stranglehold on boxing and, owned all the casinos out there in Vegas at that time. Salute BVO Sports TV. How are you today? We're talking about the fight that put Las Vegas on the map, Archie Moore and Nino Valdez in 1955, May 2nd, 1955. There's another shot of Doc Kearns right there. He was the promoter of this fight. Mm-hmm. And he also promoted the first $1 million gate in 1921. Now, at first, Kearns scrounged only $67,000 from casino magnates, but eventually got the number up to $100,000 based on his estimate of a $150,000 gate and the need for a $25,000 purse for both fighters and $50,000 of advertising expenses. The money problems weren't the biggest threat to the event, though. It was Archie Moore's health. The notoriously active Moore hadn't been in the ring since August 1954, and he had ballooned up in weight as he began living the touring musician life on the side, and it developed what some physicians had determined to be a dangerous heart problem. The Moore later claimed in his autobiography that he had 27 cardiographs made before being admitted to the Ford Hospital. Now, before the fight against Valdez could be formally finalized, a majority of a panel of doctors had to declare Moore fit to fight. Pundits claimed that Moore's heart issues were a sign of age and obesity. But Moore would claim that it was due to immense stress stemming from a woman whom he claimed was extorting him with the threat of releasing private photographs to the tune of many thousands of dollars, including a $5,000 payment for a house. Moore later described himself as being financially drained in this period. Later in his career, Moore would shed the reputation for financial foolishness and become one of the only fighters to own his own training compound, the legendary salt mine in Ramona, California, outside of San Diego. His funds from this fight would go towards eventually purchasing that facility. But for this fight, Moore admitted that he neglected training mostly, especially since he did not have to make the light heavyweight limit. This fight was at heavyweight. So Archie said he didn't train too good for this one. Didn't have to worry about making the light heavyweight limit. This was up at heavyweight here. Here's the shot of Archie. When he did train, it was in Las Vegas at the Moulin Rouge. At this point, it simply was a nightclub, but it was 22 days away from opening as the very first desegregated casino and hotel, and having the world's light heavyweight champion training and maybe belting out a tune or two was tremendous for publicity. The city of Las Vegas was already receiving its share of publicity from the sports journalism world thanks to the Tournament of Champions on May 1st, which was a golf event featuring the 21 best in the world with a record $37,500 prize pool to the winner. So this golf tournament was going on at the same time as this fight. So that drew a lot of people there too. And the city was also in the midst of the peak of atomic tourism, as it was known, drawing people to town where they could catch nuclear bomb testing in the desert. Many vying for the coveted sky room at the Desert Inn, which promised the clearest views of the detonation. So had a lot going on that weekend of this fight. In the weeks leading up to the fight, Doc Kern oscillated between May 1st and 2nd for the date of the fight, but settled on the latter, May 2nd, which was after the golf tournament, but before the next bomb test, hoping to capitalize on tourists and gamblers who might stick around for a few days after the golf tournament. As time is going on, big fights in Vegas are often the attraction other event promoters took to capitalize upon, right? Nowadays, big fights, they plan. Like Kern's planned to fight around the golf tournament and the nuclear testing, but nowadays, other events are planned around big fights, okay? But the strategy of piggybacking off of existing audiences, like staging a fight on Super Bowl weekend, is a strategy that has persisted also. Now, aside from Moore's heart issues, there were also disagreements as to how the fight would be officiated. Reportedly, the expectation was that the fight would utilize the 10-point scoring system employed by the Nevada Commission a few years earlier, and that at least 2 judges would work the fight. Neither of those things would be the case, as former heavyweight champion James J. Braddock would be the referee and only judge, scoring simply rounds 1 with no must system. So there's no 10-point must system, just had the referee as the only judge, former heavyweight champion James J. Braddock. Now, Kearns did make one concession to Nevada, however, when he decided to start the fight earlier in the day at 6:15 p.m. to allow for spectators to hit the casinos afterwards. The same protocol applies for fights in Vegas today for economic reasons, but also to accommodate viewership on the East Coast, a consideration Kearns did not have to take into account as the fight was not televised. Okay? Though there's every reason to distrust the figures released by Kearns, the announcement attendance at Cashman Field was a little over 10,000, with $102,678 in gate receipts. Cut a little short because he he predicted 150,000 in gate for the gate, but it was 102,000. The fans were treated to a rugged and entertaining fight between one of the greatest of all time, regardless of weight class, and more, and the number one heavyweight contender of the day in the Cuban, Valdez. Okay? Now, despite the reasonable concerns about his age, fitness, and overall health, Moore managed to outlast Valdez on this night. He battled through a cut and swollen eye to produce even greater damage on Valdez as the rounds went on. The fighters battled not only one another, but the same midday heat the fans paying $5, $10, and $15 and $30 to attend withstood. And in Moore's case, he wisely used the heat to his advantage. Okay, this is what Archie Moore said he did with the heat. What's up, Mike Rem in the building? This is a fight that made Las Vegas the boxing capital. First big fight in Las Vegas, Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. And the sun was salute Mike Rem. And the sun was blazing. Archie Moore used it to his advantage. This is what he said he did. Archie said, as the sun began to settle on the west side of the ring, I was sitting in my corner facing the sun and noticed that Nino was sitting with his back to the sun. The bell rings and I move to maneuver, and before any activity starts, I've already got my head under his chin and I'm muscling this big guy around, Moore told journalist Mike Silver. I face him into the sun and I keep turning him to the sun. He's trying to get back around and I keep cutting him off. I'm always maneuvering him back to face the sun, which was very bright. And all the while I keep spearing him with the left hand and keep twisting and turning him. And try as he could never make me turn into the sun. The sun was of course bothering him, and I kept thumping him with the left jab. Hard, stiff jabs. Pretty soon, his eyes began to lump up. One eye closed up completely, and the other was closing fast. By this time, the sun was going down, and the fight was coming to a close. Yeah, Archie said he kept maneuvering him where Valdez was facing the sun. Yeah. In the end, the referee James J. Browder scored the fight 8 rounds for Moore, 6 rounds for Valdez, and 1 a draw. And he took a round away from each fighter for fouls along the way. The victory did eventually compel Marciano to face Archie Moore, who demolished Bobo Austin in a light heavyweight title defense in the interim, 2 fights later. And the heavyweight title fight between Marciano and Moore became the 9th biggest gate in the history of boxing at the time. Doc Kearns would never promote another fight in Vegas after breaking evenness on his second attempt at it. That night in Vegas in 1955 portended plenty more that we've come to take for granted over the years too. Boxing wouldn't truly boom in Vegas in earnest until Utah's Gene Fullmer started coming to town in the 60s with his nearby fan base and became must-see television as the sport entered the next boom period as well. Some of the people who would go on to make Vegas the fight capital were there that night, such as Johnny Taco, whose gym became a landmark in Las Vegas and living exhibit for the sport's history. By the time Taco's was up and running, fights were mostly moved indoors to avoid the stifling heat, with the exception of the occasional outdoor venue built at casinos such as Caesars, boosting the site fees from locations that wanted the big fights and their crowds all to themselves. Now, though the impact of Moore Valdez wouldn't be felt immediately, pieces of that night remain. The home base for the fight promotion, Happy Vic's Bar and Cocktails, is in the same location that the main stage on Fremont Street stands today. Moulin Rouge, where Archie Moore trained, was closed in October of that year, but remains an important part of the country's history of race relations. 3 days after the fight, some of those same fight fans stuck around and watched the bomb blast in Yucca Flat, a phenomenon and existential fear that would subside as the years went on. But if catastrophe was a deterrent, Vegas would have never become a thing. As Doc Kern said in the build-up to More Valdez, this is Las Vegas, first, last, and only chance to become the sports capital of the world. Okay? That was 1955. And 70 years later, we had Canelo and Crawford fight in Vegas. But nowadays, for this fight, we didn't need any kind of additional coercion to get people to go to the fight. Capital City, Las Vegas. That's the fight that put it on the map. Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. Okay, so now we're going to talk some more about Archie Moore now. The old mongoose. Since we're on Archie Moore. And we're going to talk a little about Archie and the EZZARD Charles trilogy. We're going to go into that deep someday, but today we're just going to touch on it briefly. Yeah, there's a fight 70 years later. After the fight that started it in 1955, Nino Valdez and Archie Moore and Nino Valdez, 70 years later, we had that one. Blood call for Canelo Alvarez. Yep. But that's where it all started 70 years ago. The fight that put Las Vegas on the map. Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. Okay, let's talk about the old mongoose now. Archie Moore. How's everybody this Tuesday afternoon? We're going to talk about Brian Castano Friday. Life and career, what he's doing now. Got those 2 Mel big paydays and haven't seen anything else from him. But Castano, they said his exchange rate is off the chart, so he probably got those 2 big Mel paydays and became a billionaire down there in I think it's Argentina's where he's from. No, he became a billionaire down there. He don't have to get back in that ring anymore. But Archie Moore, this brief Archie Moore story, nothing too deep. There's the old mongoose right there. Good shot of the old mongoose. Smash the like and subscribe, please, everyone. Mike Grimm, BBO Sports TV, Thomas Hill, the Boxing Man, your podcast, and Miss Cass. Salute, appreciate y'all. Okay, Archie Moore story. 7 of the original 8 divisions in boxing originated in England. The only one that didn't is the light heavyweight division. Known in Europe at the time as the cruiserweight division, the light heavyweight division got its start in America in 1903, okay? The division was never very popular in those days because the men who weighed between 160 and 175 pounds, the official weight for light heavyweight, knew that only occasionally was the division a good money-making class. When fighters in the middleweight division reached the top of that class, they usually tried to make the heavyweight ranks, where they knew the financial rewards were always greater. Only a few men fought and stayed in the 175-pound weight class in the early days of boxing, and many had to fight heavyweights just to get fights. Okay? Had to go up to heavyweight just to get fights. Mm-hmm. Now, looking back, some of the greatest boxers in the history of the game were known as light heavyweights. Bob FITZSIMMONS, we got a little piece on Bob coming up today too. Bob FITZSIMMONS, Philadelphia Jack O'Brien, Billy Conn, Gene Tunney, the list goes on. But the greatest light heavyweight in the history of the sport was Archie Moore, the old mongoose. Some say EZZARD Charles, some say Archie Moore, the old mongoose. Okay, born in Benoit, Mississippi on December 13th, 1913. Now, the year sometimes varies depending where you check your stats. But we're going with 1913, December 13th, 1913. Moore moved to St. Louis at a young age. Not unlike many other boxers of that era, Moore was convicted of a crime when he was still very young. He was then sent to reform school for 2 years, which is where he learned to box, okay? But when he was released from reform school, young Moore joined the Civilian Conservation Corps, where he boxed in amateur tournaments while off duty. Moore turned pro as a middleweight in 1936 at 23 years of age. Again, his age at the time varied, depending on who you ask. But his career did span some 27 years. Over those 27 years, Moore fought a total of 229 fights, with a record of 194 wins, 26 losses, 8 draws, with an amazing total of 132 knockouts. That's number 2 all time. And that knockout record still stands today, and is sure to do through the history of boxing. Yeah, Billy Bird got 139, Archie got 132. Nobody will ever break those records because nobody will ever fight that many times again. So those records are safe. Now, during his 27-year career, Archie Moore was the boxing ambassador at large to the world, okay? Mainly due to the fact that Moore had many times been passed over for a title fight in the United States. He traveled the world over from Argentina to Australia, Stuttgart, Germany, Tasmania, Rome, and Uruguay, from Manila in the Philippines, back to Hope, Arkansas. Traveled the world. Having moved to the light heavyweight division in 1945, Moore was ranked by Ring Magazine as a top 10 contender every year from 1945 to 1951, but was still passed over for a title fight. Finally, in 1952, 16 years into his career, 39-year-old Archie Moore was given a title shot at an age when most fighters would have long since been retired. Started at 23, remember, he was 39 when he finally got his first title shot. Had been in the top 10 for 6 years, okay? So, the light heavyweight title was held at that time by Joey Maxim when Moore finally got his chance for a title shot. The fight was held in Moore's hometown of St. Louis in front of a crowd of almost 13,000 fans. Archie Moore attacked Maxim relentlessly for 15 rounds, easily winning the decision. And guess what? When he held the title for almost 10 years. As Archie said, it took him so long to get it. It was going to take a whole lot to get that title away from Archie because he said if he lost it, he may never get another title shot. It took him 16 years to get his first shot. So there's him and Joey Maxim. Archie said he kept it for almost 10 years, 9 years and some months. In 1955, Archie Moore decided to challenge Rocky Marciano for the heavyweight championship of the world. He was still light heavyweight champion at the time, though. In a battle of knockdowns held in Yankee Stadium, Marciano was the last man standing in the 9th round, maintaining his unbeaten record over Archie Moore. After Marciano retired, Archie Moore challenged Floyd Patterson for the heavyweight championship, but was knocked out in 5 rounds. And that fight was historic either way because if Floyd Patterson won, he was going to be the youngest heavyweight champion ever. And if Archie had won, he would have been the oldest heavyweight champion ever. So that was going to be history either way. And Floyd went, there's him and Floyd right there. Floyd won to become the youngest heavyweight champion ever. Stopped Archie. Knocked him out in the 5 rounds. Yeah, Archie was like 41 by then. 1913, yeah. If we go by 1913, right, he was 41. Okay. Now, wherever his travels took him, Archie Moore was a true diplomat. Once asked by President Eisenhower if he was a Democrat or a Republican, Archie simply replied, "I'm neither. I'm a diplomat." Yeah, he said, "I'm not a Democrat or a Republican, I'm a diplomat." His diplomacy carried over in the ring as well. Archie Moore was stripped of his light heavyweight title belt when he took on the heavyweights. The light heavyweight title was then held by the much younger Tony Anthony. Now, while matched with Anthony in an attempt to regain the light heavyweight crown on September 20th, 1957, Moore actually talked Anthony out of the title. Yeah, talked him out of it. Wow. Now, how in the world did he talk the man out of the title? All through the early rounds of the fight, Archie kept telling Anthony, "You're looking great. Keep up what you're doing. You're the next champion." Anthony took what Archie told him to heart and started taking rounds off, thinking he didn't need to exert himself. In the 6th and 7th rounds, Anthony took a terrible battery. The referee stopped the fight in the 7th round when Moore reclaimed the light heavyweight title. Yeah, talked the man out of his title. Wow. Archie talked him out of his title. I think that's him and Anthony right there, yeah. In October of 1960, the National Boxing Association again lifted Archie Moore's light heavyweight title due to inactivity. It named Harold Johnson of Philadelphia as their champion after knocking out Jess Baldry in a fight in Miami Beach, February 7th, 1961. At the time, Archie Moore was still recognized as world champion by every other boxing commission, except for the NBA. Now, Moore had beaten Johnson in 4 out of 5 fights between 1949 and 1954. Okay, but Johnson was still recognized as a champion. Another milestone in Moore's career came on November 15th, 1962, when Archie Moore, 1 month and 1 year before his 50th birthday, fought Cassius Clay in Los Angeles, California. Moore was knocked out in the 4th round, but became the only man to have fought both Rocky Marciano and Cassius Clay. Okay? Only man to fought both of them. Another milestone in his 27-year career for Archie. Archie retired from boxing 4 months after fighting Ali or Cassius Clay on March 15th, 1963. Inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame in 1990, Archie Moore passed away at the age of 84 in 1998. The old mongoose. Archie Moore. Okay, let's talk about another great light heavyweight now. The fighting blacksmith, Bob FITZSIMMONS. No, we're going to talk about EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore now. Fighting blacksmith is next. Yeah, EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore now. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's EZZARD and Archie. EZZARD beat him 3 times. It's EZZARD on the left, Archie on the right. In that that display. How's everybody this Tuesday afternoon? Still early in this big week of boxing history. In the month of January. Got some big fights this month. Everybody talking about Shakur and Teofimo, but we got Andy Cruz and Mira Tyler the week before that, remember? That might be the better fight. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And some other good fights. Xander Zayas is fighting this month too. I think we got 3 fights. I think that's on the 31st also. So yeah. Starting out good. They say the boots, I read somewhere today, the Boots and Virgil talks are heating up. I want to hear it signed. The contracts are signed. Forget heating up. Everybody just knew that they would, after Boots and Virgil's last fights, we thought the contracts would be signed by now. And Boots fought first, and then Virgil fought. Boots got in the ring, and we said it's on now. And then all of a sudden, Virgil started talking about Earl Smith. Remember? His dream fight was Earl. Don't know why I said Virgil and Earl Smith. A man that haven't fought in what? It's going on 4 years now. 3 years, because that was 2023. And him and Bud fought. It'll be 3 years this summer. Yeah, we want Boots and Virgil. Monster Nakatani. But right now, EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore. EZZARD Charles versus Archie Moore. A 3-fight series that gave us nothing but repeats. EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore. There they are right there. Okay. Let's get into that. And this time be flying. And the world is at 3 o'clock already. Wow. Mike Mazik is in the building. Salute Mike Mazik. We're just talking about, started out with the first big major fight in Las Vegas. Archie Moore and Nino Valdez. So then we just stayed on Archie Moore. We're going to talk about him and EZZARD Charles trilogy briefly. We're going to get into it deep one of these days. This was a good trilogy. We're going to touch on it briefly right now. EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore, 3 fights. Let's get into it. Now, although he is ranked by many as the greatest light heavyweight champion in boxing history, Archie Moore has to be placed behind one man when it comes down to the greatest of all time light heavyweight, period. For although he was never champion of the world at 175 pounds, EZZARD Charles, the Cincinnati Cobra, as he was known, has to hold that distinction. The reason above all others is the fact that 3 times he beat the legendary Moore in a series of fights in the 1940s. Yeah, EZZARD beat it 3 times. Archie was light heavyweight champion. EZZARD never was, but EZZARD beat Archie 3 times. So, I mean, maybe if it was just once, you might could give the nod to Archie, or just twice, but EZZARD beat him 3 times. So you got to get a nod to EZZARD when it comes down to Archie and EZZARD, who's the better. Got to go with EZZARD. Beat him 3 times. So yeah, but EZZARD couldn't get a title shot at light heavyweight. When Archie was fighting him, Archie hadn't won the title yet. He was ducking EZZARD just like he was ducking Archie. EZZARD got ducked at middleweight, he got ducked at light heavyweight. That's the only reason he went to heavyweight, because he was really a middleweight. But he went to heavyweight because he figured he could get a title shot at heavyweight, and he did. You got to give him the nod over Archie because he beat him 3 times. Not only that, but he actually knocked out the old mongoose in the final fight of their trilogy. If that doesn't make EZZARD the finest fighter ever at light heavyweight, then nothing else will. He was 175-pound division's finest practitioner, and the knockout over Archie Moore pretty much proves it, right? Pretty much proves it, that knockout in the last fight. That was the 3rd win, convincingly. That's EZZARD and Jersey Joe there. Okay? Consider Archie Moore, who engaged in over 200 fights, was only ever beaten 20 times as a light heavyweight. Remember also that many of Archie's fights were fought at a relatively advanced age, and he was only stopped at light heavyweight by 4 men. The fact that EZZARD was able to master the boxing with the world record for the second most knockouts ever scored by a professional boxer with seeming ease 3 times cements his greatness. There's no doubting it. Got to get a nod to EZZARD. Okay? Both EZZARD and Archie were consummate craftsmen of the ring. Their ultra slick moves continue to inspire fighters today. James Toney, for example, said he watched many tapes of these 2 masters, as many as he could when he was fighting. Yet it's probably up at heavyweight in their tussles with the unbeatable Rocky Marciano, for which they are best known, both of them. Both Charles and Moore tested the Rock severely. Archie decked the heavyweight king early on in his fight with Rocky before finally being stopped in the 9th round of a great battle, while EZZARD tangled with Rocky on 2 occasions, losing an extremely close decision the first time and being stopped in the 8th in fight 2, but not before almost tearing Marciano's nose clean off his face. And EZZARD was the only one to go the distance with Rocky in the championship fight. Now, EZZARD Charles did manage to go one better than Moore at heavyweight, however. In the earlier campaign at the weight, EZZARD actually captured the title with a win over another gifted and intelligent fighter, Jersey Joe Walcott. Now, before losing the championship to the very same Jersey Joe Walcott later on, EZZARD beat Walcott, then he lost the title to him, the rematch. EZZARD then challenged Rocky in an attempt to regain the title, while Archie, after losing to Marciano, had one more crack at the biggest prize in sports. That's what the heavyweight championship was at that time, the biggest prize in sports. This time, it was against the much younger Floyd Patterson, losing in 5 rounds, right? Remember, that was his fight was going to make history. Either the youngest heavyweight champion ever or the oldest ever was going to come out of that fight, right? Floyd came out of it. Once again, then, EZZARD Charles was somewhat superior to Archie Moore, this time in the ability at fighting successfully as a heavyweight. Yet, it was when the two men faced one another that EZZARD clearly had the more constant and relevant upper hand. Head to head, 3 times. That tells the story right there. Beat Archie head to head 3 times. Okay? So, fight 1 was fought back in May of 1946 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and was a non-title fight scheduled for 10 rounds. EZZARD inflicted the first of his 3 defeats on Archie with a commanding wide unanimous decision. He also decked the ageless one with an extremely hurtful body shot in round 8. Archie barely beat the count, rising at 9. EZZARD had given Moore a clear beating. Okay? Gave Archie a clear beating in that fight. The following year, again in May, they met again. This time the fight was held in EZZARD's hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio. Not that he needed the advantage. Again, with no title on the line, and again fought over 10 rounds, EZZARD Charles captured a majority verdict. Also, as in the first meeting between the two light heavyweight greats, EZZARD put Moore down for body shot, this time in the 7th round. It just didn't seem as though Archie, as good as he was, could gain the upper hand over the younger man. Still, this didn't stop him from trying. For although nowadays the overwhelming urge of many a boxer would doubtless be to avoid such a tough foe, this was not the way of things for fighters back in the 1940s, especially not black fighters. Fight 3 came just short of a year later. Nowadays, 2 tough losses, like 1 tough loss, that fighter going to be avoided by that fighter he beat. But not back then. Archie kept trying. Went at him again for a 3rd time. And the black fighters had to take what fights they could get back then because they were avoided a lot. So couldn't really afford to avoid anybody. There's EZZARD. Okay, so just short of a year later, the 3rd fight. This time they met in Ohio in January of 1948. And again, the fight was scheduled for 10 rounds. The 2nd fight was in Cincinnati, Ohio, too. Now, what followed was probably the best fight of their 3-fight series. Both men started fast, and the pace remained unaltered throughout. In this fight, Archie saw his best chance of victory, passing by. He had Charles walking on Queer Street in round number 8 and was seemingly a punch or 2 away from at last defeating the man from Cincinnati, and by knockout. Yet, somehow, EZZARD recovered his senses and came back with some devastating blows of his own to sensationally knock out the Mongoose in the very same round. He had EZZARD in trouble in that round, but EZZARD came back and stopped him. Archie probably got careless, having EZZARD in trouble. Sometimes they get a man in trouble and lose their defensive responsibility and get caught. That's probably what happened to Archie, because he had EZZARD in real trouble. And all of a sudden he got caught and got knocked out in the very same round. That happens. EZZARD recovered and came back and knocked Archie out. The finishing punch was a right cross. It was an absolute perfect punch. by EZZARD. That right cross that he finished Archie with. Yeah, perfect punch. There's him and Archie again right there. This one finally convinced Moore that, good as he was, he simply could not find a way to beat EZZARD. Both men went about their careers from then on without hooking up again. And both men's finest accomplishments were still ahead of them. Imagine that. Two supremely talented light heavyweights squaring off with one another 3 times before even fighting for a world title. Neither had even fought for a title at that point before their trilogy. And Archie was up in his 30s. He was 39 before he got his title shot, remember? No way would such a practice be adhered to today. Okay. But when these two legends were fighting, they didn't really have much of a choice. Boxing has really changed. EZZARD Charles and Archie Moore, the 2 greatest light heavyweights in boxing history. Yep, I would say so. Okay, let's take a look at Bob FITZSIMMONS, the fighting blacksmith. He was the first man to go all the way from middleweight to heavyweight. Roy Jones was the second man to do it. Win titles in both classes. Roy Jones was the second man to do it. Bob FITZSIMMONS was first. We got 2 birthdays today, too, I know of. 2 Cuban legends, Kid Chocolate and Kid Gavilon. And we're going to talk about them, too, in a minute, the 2 birthday boys. Kid Chocolate was January 6, 1910. Kid Gavilon, January 6, 1926. Okay? Yep. Kid Gavilon would be 100 today. Wow. Kid Chocolate would be 120. Okay. 2 Cuban greats share the same birthday. Wow. Isn't that something? Who is that? Oh, that's EZZARD. No, is that EZZARD and Archie Moore? I don't know. That's EZZARD and somebody. But let's go to the fighting blacksmith. Here he is, Bob FITZSIMMONS. Yep. We're going to talk about Bob now. He had a few names. A few nicknames. We're going to get them all in. Brian Castano Friday. I guess he's retired. When did he fight Mel? 23? Something like that. I want Puro to come in here because he's going to try to tell me yesterday Shakur not a technical boxer. I thought he knew boxing. What if Shakur not a technical boxer? What is? Remember that T-Hill? I was saying it might be a nice technical fight between Shakur and Teofimo, and Puro said neither one of them are technical fighters. I didn't catch it right at the moment. I would have got him then, but I thought he knew boxing. Somebody could say Shakur not a technical boxer. Wow. Maybe that he didn't know what a technical boxer is. But Shakur is nothing but a technical boxer, man. Right? Because a technical boxer. I even looked it up to make sure I knew where did I put it at though? I don't know. Yeah. Anybody in the chat think Shakur is a technical boxer? Yeah. Technical boxer is a fighter who excels in fundamentals like footwork, defense, such as head movement, blocking, and precise, well-timed punches, prioritizing strategy and skill over raw power to outpoint or outmaneuver opponents, rather than relying on knockouts. They master the art of hitting without getting hit, using speed, accuracy, and control to win fights smartly. Doesn't that describe Shakur Stevenson? Puro said he wasn't a technical boxer. I thought he knew boxing. Apparently not. I mean, if there is a technical boxer in there nowadays, it's Shakur Stevenson. But let's move on. You know, some of these people that call themselves hardcores, man, you have to look at them a little sideways sometimes. But he'll be back, and I'm going to get him. Because he definitely said Shakur wasn't a technical boxer yesterday. So, wow. Everybody that claims to be hardcore isn't a hardcore fan. No disrespect meant, but if you can say Shakur Stevenson not a technical boxer, maybe you don't know what a technical boxer is. That could be it. You know, that could be it. But if you don't know, then don't say that. That's ignorance. I'm not calling him an, but if you don't know something and say it's not right, that's ignorance. If you don't know, you don't know. Don't call me wrong if you don't know what you're talking about, right? Just say you don't know. That's all. Just say you don't know, right? Walt Fitzsimmons, the greatest pound for pound puncher ever? That's the question. Okay. Now, the fact that Bob Fitzsimmons died in 1917 and very little film of him exists means that quite a lot of casual boxing fans will never have heard of him. That's a real shame. Fitzsimmons was, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the most memorable characters in boxing. He completely defied everything. How you're meant to look, how you're meant to fight, what weight you're meant to fight at, how old you're meant to fight on, for, and many others. The catchphrase, the bigger they are, the harder they fall, was attributed to Fitzsimmons, which he apparently remarked as he entered the ring against Ed Donkhorst, allegedly one of the heaviest boxers ever. It's said that Donkhorst sometimes entered the ring at over 400 pounds, making his moniker, the human freight car, somewhat appropriate. Now, Bob Fitzsimmons was born in Helston, a small town in Cornwall, England, in 1867. When he was still a young boy, his family emigrated to Timaru, New Zealand, where Fitzsimmons learned to box. He entered a tournament organized by bare knuckle legend Jim Mace as a 14-year-old lightweight and won by beating the 200 pounds plus Timaru Terror, a blacksmith who was the scourge of the local rings. Okay? Now, Fitzsimmons was a blacksmith himself, as was Jim Mace. And Fitzsimmons worked at his brother Jared's forge. It was there that he developed the awesome upper body strength that would give him his inhuman punching power. He later turned professional in Australia. In a bar fight against Australian middleweight rival Jim Hall, he threw because he was told he wouldn't get paid if he didn't lose. He beat everybody, including Hall, by way of knockout in the rematch. Okay? Beat him in the rematch. Feeling that he wasn't getting anywhere fast in Australia, Bob traveled to the United States to challenge the mighty Jack Nonpareil Dempsey, considered one of the greatest of the early middleweight champions. This wasn't the Jack Dempsey, this was the first Jack Dempsey, the middleweight. Both weighing in over 10 pounds under the middleweight limit, Fitzsimmons, who was unheard of in America, and due to his odd appearance, a huge underdog, obliterated Dempsey, completely finishing him as a fighter. He went on to defend the middleweight title against a couple of credible challengers, such as Dan Creedon, before he decided to go all the way to the heavyweight title of the world. Yeah, he was the first one to go from middleweight to heavyweight. Roy Jones was the second. Okay. To put Fitzsimmons' achievements into perspective, we must first examine the man himself. Fitzsimmons stood a shade under 6 feet tall, with extremely skinny legs. That's him on the right. That broadened out into a remarkably muscled back and shoulders. Yeah, I'll tell you that right there. Yeah, that's just, look at him. Extremely muscled back and shoulders. And skinny legs. That's him on the right. He looked like a heavyweight from the waist down. I mean, he looked like a heavyweight from the waist up and a lightweight from the waist down. He was gingerhead, giving away his family's Irish heritage. balding, and his freckled face burnt easily in the sun. He was quite simply just not what a boxer is supposed to look like. Sometimes his curious appearance caused laughter amongst audiences, wondering how this strange-looking man had come to practice the noble art of pugilism. But, as the noted boxing historian Tracy Callis says in his excellent biography of Fitzsimmons, no one that fought him ever laughed. Okay? People in the audience laughed, but anybody that got in that ring with the fighting blacksmith, none of them laughed. Nicknames for the great man included the fighting blacksmith, the fighting machine on stilts because of his skinny legs, the freckled freak, speckled Bob, Ruby Robert, and simply the Cornishman. But he had a lot of nicknames. Fitzsimmons always, but the fighting blacksmith was the most common one. Fitzsimmons always considered himself quintessentially British and Cornish above that. Bob was one of the first ever truly scientific boxers. The man he won the heavyweight title from, James J. Corbett, is generally acknowledged as the father of modern scientific boxing. And while Fitzsimmons wasn't quite as flashy a stylist, his science laid in the ability to punch. He wrote a book on boxing, instructing his readers on how to utilize their weight and balance to get the full effect of a punch. And he could hit equally hard with either hand. The fighting blacksmith. Either hand. Ruby Robert was a pretty popular nickname of his too. After Corbett beat the legendary Jack John L. Sullivan, the last of the bare knuckles heavyweight champions, he announced his retirement. It wasn't to last. Fitzsimmons knocked out Peter Marr in 90 seconds to claim the title, and Corbett, who disliked Bob intensely, unretired, mooting his claim. Corbett hated Fitzsimmons so much because Bob was so vocal in calling him out, yet wasn't even a heavyweight. Fitzsimmons' prime fighting weight was around 167 pounds, which is under the super middleweight limit. He was this weight when he beat the much heavier Corbett for the title with his famous solar plexus left hook to the body, severely winding Corbett and putting him out for the count. Okay? Body shot knockout on Corbett. Fitzsimmons was the first ever middleweight champion to hold a heavyweight crown. Only other one was Roy Jones, 106 years later. Fitzsimmons did it in 1897. Roy Jones did it in 1993. 96 years later. Okay. Yeah, he was the first ever middleweight champion to hold a heavyweight crown. And unlike subsequent fighters that had repeated this feat, he was still, to all intents and purposes, a middleweight when he did it. By contrast, Roy Jones Jr. was 193 pounds when he beat John Ruiz, and while 193 pounds is considered light for a heavyweight nowadays, it's nearly 2 weight classes heavier than what Bob fought at, as Fitzsimmons won by knockout. 2 stones, that's 28 pounds. I think 14 pounds equal 1 stone. So he was 28 pounds. Roy Jones was nearly 28 pounds in what Fitzsimmons was at. Fitzsimmons was like at 163, something like that, when he fought for the middleweight title. And Fitzsimmons won by knockout. Wow. Roy fought at heavyweight as a heavyweight. Fitzsimmons is still at middleweight and moved up to heavyweight. Wow. Quite an accomplishment. But anyway, further evidence to his enormous punching power was after he lost the title in a tough contest to James J. Jeffries, who outweighed him by about 55 pounds and was 3 inches taller. He was granted a rematch a couple of years later after knocking out the respected contenders Gus Rublin and Tom Sharkey. All this at the sprightly age of 39, which was unheard of at the time. Yeah, fighting at that age. For round after round, Fitzsimmons outlanded and outspared Jeffries, battering him beyond recognition. According to onlookers, Jeffries' visage was horrific after a few rounds. Fitzsimmons broke his nose and jaw, cut him badly over both eyes and cheeks, and broke one of his ribs to boot. Not bad for a 39-year-old bald ginger middleweight. Only the subhuman countenance and comparative youth of Jeffries kept him in the fight, and without doubt, it would have been stopped today, and Fitzsimmons would have been the first man to regain the heavyweight championship. Yeah, before Floyd Patterson. That would have been stopped today. You almost had to kill somebody back then for them to stop it. Finally, Fitzsimmons punched himself out, and Jeffries somehow managed to see well enough out of his mangled eyes to find a left hook to knock the grand old man out. Wow. But that wasn't all. At the age of 42, Bob became the second man ever to hold a new light heavyweight title, again weighing in well under the limit, beating George Gardner and putting him down several times in the process. He should really have ended it there, but like so many other fighters, his ego and desire kept him on for too many fights. Some he won, but most he lost, and he died poor from pneumonia at the age. He died poor from pneumonia at the age of 54 after fighting his last fight just 3 years earlier at the age of 51. Wow. What until he was 51. There's him in Corbett right there. He was the first ever boxer to win titles at 3 different weights, first 3-weight champion. And for those titles to range from middleweight to heavyweight, when it was only really a middleweight, is extraordinary. All who fought him agreed that he certainly punched like a heavyweight, and his knockout percentage is impressive by heavyweight standards. Fighting Blacksmith. Bob Fitzsimmons. Now, you can't deny that there have been some men in history who have likely hit harder than him, but these would have been men who considerably outweighed him, right? It's believed that pound for pound, Bob Fitzsimmons was the hardest hitting fighter for his weight in history. Don't let that you've not heard of him or know little about him influence your decision. Look up his record and see the men he knocked out. Then consider that he was very close to stopping, and certainly would have done by today's standards, the mighty Jim Jeffries in his prime, who is generally acknowledged as having one of the hardest chins in heavyweight history. And Bob was at almost 40 then. There's no denying it either that him being a brilliant fighter, Bob Fitzsimmons was a phenomenal hitter. There's no denying it. Other than him being a brilliant fighter, Bob Fitzsimmons was a phenomenal hitter. Here he is, the Fighting Blacksmith, Bob Fitzsimmons. We got technique, salute. We got 2 birthdays today too. Vegas is still the capital. We got, I don't know technique, the next big one coming up. But we got 2 great Cuban fighters' birthdays today. We got Kid Chocolate and Kid Gavilan. Kid Chocolate was January 6, 1910. Gavilan was January 6, 1926. Let's talk about them. The birthday guys. Now, I don't know the next big fight out there in Vegas, but yeah, it's still the fight capital. It ain't Riyadh season. Yeah, Kid Chocolate. These 2 Cuban legends born on the same day. Ain't that something? Oh, I just learned that yesterday. Yep. Same day. Kid Gavilan gets credit for inventing the bolo punch, remember? Yeah, the bolo punch. I don't have a picture of neither one of them. No. Oh, this is Thomas Hearns. I didn't know who that was. Him and Sugar Ray, fight of the day. Cuban great, Kid Chocolate. talk about Kid. He was born, his real name or government name or whatever name is Eligio Sardinius Montalvo, January 6, 1910, in Cerro Habana, Cuba. He launched his pro boxing career in 1927 and would participate in over 150 fights in a career that ended in 1938. He was nicknamed the Cuban Bonbon, and during the 1930s, he was one of the best drawing cards in New York. His flashy personality and even flashier style in the ring made him a real crowd pleaser. After racking up a series of victories in his native Cuba, the Kid invaded the United States in 1928, knocking out Eddie Enos in 3 rounds in Mineola, New York, in his United States debut. He would fight at all the popular New York spots like Ridgewood Grove and the St. Nicholas Arena. On November 30th, 1928, at the Madison Square Garden, the Kid drew with rugged Joyce Galtrero, had a draw in 1920, and then in 1929 he beat Bushy Graham and Vic Barone. On May 22nd, 1929, he outscored the great Fidel Barber. He continued to win fights, and among his victors were Gregorio Vidal, Al Singer, and Dominique Petrone. The year 1930 saw the Kid in the ring with Jackie Kid Berg. The energetic and quick Chocolate was hard-pressed to last against his aggressive adversary. Berg won a split decision. 3 fights later, the Kid was out-hustled by Fidel Barber. So what happened? Kid Chocolate meets Battling Battalino for the featherweight title. On December 12, 1930, at Madison Square Garden, Battalino got the verdict, but many felt that it could have gone to Kid Chocolate. Finally, on July 15, 1931, the Kid finally won a world title. At Baker Field in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, the Kid halted the rugged Benny Bass in 7 rounds to win recognition as the world's junior lightweight champion. In November, he moved up in weight to take on the lightweight champion, Tony Canzoneri. It was a great fight witnessed by over 19,000 fans at the Garden. The Kid came up on the short end of a split decision. Chocolate would win 9 straight after his setback to Canzoneri against some tough guys like Davey Abed, Lou Feldman, and Johnny Farr. On July 18, 1932, Kid Chocolate would meet Kid Berg in a rematch. Again, Berg was able to pull off a close decision back at the Garden. The Kid again put together an impressive win streak, including a 15-round win over Fidel Barber. They gained him the New York State Athletic Commission featherweight title. New York State Athletic Commission and the NBA, National Boxing Association, were the big sanctioning bodies, big titles back in that period. On November 24th, 1933, Kid Chocolate suffered a severe career setback when he was blasted in the 2nd round by Tony Canzoneri. 1 month later, the Kid lost the junior lightweight title to Frankie Click. His career was on the decline, but he was still winning more than he lost. There was a draw with Tough Tommy Paul in 1934. Later that year, he was clearly outpointed by Petey Hayes. In 1935, he lost a decision in Caracas, Venezuela, to Simon Chavez. In December of 1936, the Kid would drop a points loss to Phil Baker. He would then win over 20 fights through 1938. He was held to a draw by Bernie Friedkin and Orville Drouillard, but managed the degree of vengeance when he was awarded the well-deserved decision in Cuba against Drouillard in 1938. After 1938, the ever-popular Kid Chocolate retired. He had met some of the best of his day. He was Mantequilla, which means smooth as butter, before the great Jose de Paula was given that nickname. In comparing Kid Chocolate's style to more contemporary boxers, smooth boxing Ismael Laguna and the extremely clever Wolf of Benitez fit the bill. A couple boxers from the modern era. Kid Chocolate was grace personified. He was in a class by himself. Let's take a quick look at Kid the other birthday. Another other great Cuban boxer too, Gavilan. Both of them was born on the same day. Now Gavilan was credited with the bolo punch. Yeah, let's get him in real quick. We're gonna get a little make time today too. What is? Let me put the link in there now. Everybody's welcome to hit the link. Okay, let's see. The link. Bear with me for a moment. Not here. Not that. Yes, come on. Oh, I'm doing the wrong thing. The link goes up there. How's everybody? It's Tuesday. We got Brian Castano Friday. I think it's about time to take a look at women's boxing again. Sometimes, every now and then we got to take a look at the women's boxing. One day this week, we're going to look at the women's side of the sport. Had a big women's fight. Didn't Serrano fight last weekend? I think. Yeah. He just couldn't get the nod over Katie in the three. I think the one last summer should be it. I know I don't want to see them no more. I wanted to see the third one, but that's enough for Katie and Amanda and Katie. I thought Amanda won a couple of them, but I don't know. The judges didn't think so, right? And that's what counts, what the judges think. That's what goes on the record, what they say. Although they be wrong a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Yep. They don't know what they're talking about a lot. But that's what counts. See if I got everything right here. It is. Whoops, there it is. Okay, and then in the meantime, we got Kid Gavilan was also birthday today. These two great Cuban boxers born on the same day. Isn't that something? Yeah, Gavilan's birthday is today too. He was credited with the bolo punch, like I said, remember? He said he learned that from cutting sugar cane down there in Cuba. That's how he learned the bolo punch. From the motion, cutting the sugar cane. Yeah. Carried that over to boxing and made a punch out of it. The bolo punch. Yeah. Gavilan. How's everybody though? It's early. Had a big week of boxing history straight in front of us. Gavilan, Gavilan. We're going to talk about the kid. They say Keed in Cuba, K-E-E-D, Keed. Keed Gavilan. Keed Chocolate. Here we go. Cuban boxer, another Cuban great, same birthday. He was born January 6th today, 1926, 16 years after Chocolate. He would have been exactly 100 today. Gavilan, wow. Exactly 100. Now, former Cuban pro boxer and world welterweight champion. He was known for his bolo punch, a combination of a hook and an uppercut. Okay? Combination of a hook and uppercut. The Gavilan said that cutting sugarcane during his youth in Cuba helped him to perfect his punching technique, helped him to develop a perfective bolo punch, cutting sugarcane as a youngster in Cuba. He was a flashy fighter and a skillful boxer who began his pro career in 1943 and compiled an impressive record in Cuba and Mexico, before moving to the United States in the fall of 1946. His first world title fight was fought on July 11th, 1949, when he lost a 15-round decision to the defending world welterweight champion, Sugar Ray Robinson. Okay. In 1951, Robinson vacated his title and moved to the middleweight division. And Gavilon gained international recognition as welterweight champion by defeating Johnny Bratton in a 15-round fight. Yeah, after Sugar Ray vacated it, Gavilon won it. Yeah, and Gavilon's record was Chocolate was 100 wins, 30 losses, 5 draws, 28 knockouts. That was Gavilon, and he was never stopped. Chocolate was 136 wins, 10 losses, 6 draws, 51 knockouts. There we go. Okay, what's up, Thomas Hill?
Yeah, it was good. I don't know if you're gonna hear me though, because like I'm not around where
I hear you good.
I'm in a bad area. I'm on data, so it's kind of low. But I'm glad you can hear me, man. I want to say that I agreed with what you said about the Katie Taylor, excuse me, the Katie Taylor Amanda Serrano fight. I thought for sure the first 2 fights, Serrano won the fights. I thought Serrano did a better. Katie Taylor did a better job later in the second fight. I thought in the first fight, man, with the exception of some pity pats at the very end of rounds, she pretty much got dominated the whole damn fight. The second round, she got outlanded. She got outpunched.
She almost got stopped in the first one, T. Hill. Remember that 5th round?
Well, yeah, if it would have been 3 rounds, 3-minute rounds, it would have been a stoppage. Yeah. But at the same time, I will say this, there are certain things at play, and a lot of people don't want to believe it, but it's at play. And certain folks will always have a certain type of, I'll put it to you like this. This was a promotion by Jake Paul, right? And their company. She is his fighter. But the person who seemed like to be getting the best coverage in those fights had been Katie Taylor.
Yep, and the lead up and everything. You're right, 100%.
So it was an uphill climb for her because she had to overcome that. And on top of that, Amanda's not a beautiful looking fighter.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? She's gritty, grimy, and she's rugged in that ring. Katie Taylor looks like poetry in motion in the ring when she does what she does.
Yeah, man, the ring ugly.
It does look ugly. Her movements don't look as fluid, but they're effective as hell. Right. Like what she does is effective, and she leaves everything out there. So like. Those moments where they had some exchanges, she definitely was doing the much more effective, damaging work. But Katie did look fluid in what she was doing sometimes. But when you're starting to use your head or your elbows,
I know.
That means something's not going right. And I don't care what anybody says. In any fight where she didn't win, but she was gifted a win, she resorted to those tactics. And to me, that's a telltale sign. Like somebody said, okay, and this is a true statement, Pitbull in the Roach fight, he started doing things that was not characteristic of Pitbull. That's clearly a sign. That's not growth or development. That's a sign that Lamont Roach is doing something that is changing what you're able to do and you're not comfortable.
That's right. Going out of character.
So like for me, like people who say, okay, well, because Pitbull was doing that, I gave the fight to Lamont Roach. I hear you, but there's 12 rounds.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Those 12 rounds, the amount of rounds that Lamont Roach had him fighting his fight was only 4.
Right.
It was only 4 rounds. Mm-hmm. And that was 6-10. Yeah. 6-10, he was fighting his fight. 11 and 12, it went back to the Pitbull fight. 1 through 5, especially 1 through 3. 1 through 3 was definitely his. Like I said, I gave him 4 and 5 because he did more effective work. Lamont Roach then switched it up on him 6 and started making him do his thing. All the way up to 9, and then I kind of edged 10 to him. But 11 and 12, clearly he allowed the fight to go back to Pitbull's type of fight.
I know, he sure did.
So if you want to use that characteristic, that's his fight. Likewise, if she's doing stuff that she normally don't have to do in a fight, but every time she does it in a fight that people think she lost, then chances are she was getting handed something that she wasn't able to deal with comfortably. And that's to me what I saw. Now the third fight, man, that wasn't even a fight. I don't even know what that was.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said I don't want to see no more between them. 3 is
I'm good. And to me, she won both of those first 2 fights.
First 2, for sure.
Like for me, Manny Pacquiao was gifted a lot of fights against Marquez. I didn't think he won as many as they gave him. And then I thought that the one that he did end up losing by knockout, I thought he was winning that fight for sure.
Yeah.
I thought he was winning that fight.
Up to that point, he sure was.
Up to that point. Yeah. But all the other fights, I thought one was a draw, and I thought the other 2 were Marquez. But were they good fights? Yes, they were really good fights. So I'm not mad at people who say they won. I'm not mad at people who say Katie Taylor won. I'm not mad at people who say Bivol won.
You can't call them robberies for sure.
I cannot. I think Better Beeve won both of the fights against Bivol, but I can't call them a robbery.
They were good
because it was competition.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's tough. I don't believe Sugar Ray Leonard beat Marvin Hagler.
No, me neither.
But these things happen, and it's always been the case in boxing. It's amazing how it goes, but unfortunately, that's why they need better measures against it. Yeah. And I think they need to do something about Vantage Point. Maybe if you can't do anything about Vantage Point for the sake of like the viewing public that had paid their tickets, then put telestrators or something there that they could see the fight on the screen, so that they could get the real angle that they need. Because sometimes you can't see where you are and you're sitting low, so you're looking up. And the camera. Go ahead.
Open scoring. I don't know why they can't turn the cards and let us see the scoring after each round. They score each round by round, right?
That's supposed to
show the scoring round by round.
Yeah, well, I hear you on that. I don't know if that opens up another can of worms, but I do believe that
from cheating, because I think at the end of the fight they get together and some cards get changed.
So like when cards are super like discrepant, I think there should be like an investigation. And if that's the case, and you suspect any wrongdoing, they need to be penalized severely, so they can't do stuff like this. So if you're on a take, the penalty is worth more than being on a take. That's so right. That you're gonna pay a price no matter.
And on top of that, I think
and you know what else? Well, you went down low. Just like the fighters have a post-fight, why can't the referees and the judge have a post-fight press conference and get questioned? They just get up and leave. Question them. Like, how did you get this round to so-and-so? Explain this. Glad I lost Thomas Hill. He said he was some way gonna go down low. So, but yeah, it's a lot they could change. They need to make it. The first step is to make everything universal. The rules are the same everywhere. As far as hand wraps, how you can wrap them, what kind of tape you can use, the PEDs. How can a substance be illegal, banned, dangerous substance in one state, but then it's okay in another state? That's the craziest thing I've ever heard in my life. If it's illegal and dangerous in Maryland. Ain't it legal and dangerous in New York too? But I can use it in New York, but I can't use it in Maryland. That's crazy there. But that's boxing. That's boxing. But look at Thomas Hill dropped off. And yeah, we were talking about Kid Gavilan, Cuban boxer. His birthday is today. He would have been 100 years on the dot today. Wow. 100. Invented the bolo punch. Well, he's credited with inventing it. You know, everything they say somebody invented it in any aspect, not just sports. So they say somebody invented something. Somebody else was using it long before them or doing it, but they did. The Kid Gavilan just get credit for it, but somebody probably was using the bolo punch way back in the 1800s sometime. Anything they say somebody invented it, somebody was using it centuries ago. It just didn't get noticed. So yeah, Kid Gavilan, I say he gets credit for the bolo punch, but he didn't invent it. You probably can take that to the bank. He was the first one got noticed for using it. And Sugar Ray Leonard, Roy Jones used it. Sugar Ray used it on Duran in that fight and caught him with it too. I think Sugar Ray Robinson, the old bolo punch. But yeah, we're gonna. I lost Thomas Hill, so we're gonna prepare. Just Do Boxing is up next. I think we're gonna talk about a little women's boxing history tomorrow. We do that every now and then talk about some of the great women fighters in the sport. Keep track of them every now and then. Yeah, I think we got a great women's matchup too. Alicia Baumgartner and Caroline Dubois. I think that fight is coming up. That's a good matchup. I think it's 126 or 130. One of them. I don't know if it's signed yet, but I'm not gonna miss that one. Okay, you back, Thomas Hill?
Okay.
Yeah, I was talking about that Lisa Baumgartner and Caroline Dubois fight. I think that's going to happen. We was talking about. You sound real bad, T. Kind of
What about
like
now?
you underwater, like you underwater or something.
Right now, you
Oh, you good now? Yeah, you got it.
oh my bad. Yeah,
Almost.
I apologize about that. I had to tell you. So,
But you know the main thing they need
we were
to do
talking
is
about what again?
But you know the main thing
No.
they
What
need
you?
to do as far as the rules though, going back to that, the main thing they need to do is make everything uniform, the same everywhere. You know,
Oh yeah, absolutely. If they're fighting the
they need to take
belt,
the, you know,
then everything should be the same. It should not be less. You can be from this region.
I can't. You're not.
No, well,
Good.
if that's the case, then the people that's not from that region need to be allowed them same levels. Whatever the standard is, that's the standard.
Mm-hmm.
So now, if there are people participating in competition that are from places where levels are naturally higher, then you got to raise the levels everywhere.
You got to raise them everywhere. That's right.
And whatever you're allowed to do in one place, you should be allowed to do somewhere else. Everywhere. So like everything needs to be streamlined.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
The first step they should take.
Like I said, that one time when you first came on, and it was me.
I think they are fighting. Let's see. Baumgartner. Let's go on Caroline DeBoer. Oh, they got signed. Caroline DeBoer just called Baumgartner out. A good fight though. Yeah, 130. Yeah, junior featherweight. I hope they get that one signed. That's an excellent matchup for on the women's side. I would pay for that one. 50-50. I would say going in 50-50 matchup. Dubois and Baumgartner. Yeah, 50-50. I was trying to wait for T. Hill to come back. Let me see. We're going to close it down. Let me see. Yeah. Just Do Boxing is up next at 4 p.m. There's Thomas Hill. No, that's, yeah. Okay.
So I apologize once again.
Yeah.
But that conversation we were having, me, you, and D for the win, that what, the third night that you did your first, you first doing it?
Yeah.
Like I stand by that conversation. That conversation to me is where boxing needs to go. And I think it needs to expand to a lot of things, but judging should be a certain way. And I think that judging. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Yeah, man, this thing is tripping. So judging is one of the things that should be held to a strict and stern criteria. You should get graded upon your performance as a judge. Just like they're grading the performance of the fighter, they need to be graded as well.
And you know what else? I think you had went out when I said this. You know, the judges should have a post-fight press conference too and get questioned about them cards.
Absolutely.
How did you get round 7 to so-and-so? What did you see?
Absolutely.
The ring generalship or the pressure or the defense, let the judge explain it.
No, absolutely. Absolutely.
Get up and leave. That shouldn't be like that, you know?
And then in that conversation, for those who weren't aware or privy to that conversation that night, because it was just us three, we talked about the fact that back in the days, they used to select their gloves, check the gloves, and then give the judge, hand the judge the gloves over to the sanctioning body for them to keep. And they would glove up in the ring. So that nobody can contaminate or tamper with the gloves.
They would give them to them. They wouldn't even have them on the ring guard. They would give them to them when they got out there. You know?
Exactly.
They give them to them when they got in the ring, and then you glove up.
We talked on that show about possibly adding either more judges or changing the vantage point for the judges.
Yeah.
But the fact that maybe they should either change the vantage point and still have more judges so that if something looks suspect that's way off from what everybody else saw, then we can go to a secondary or third or tertiary, like have enough judges where we can get a sound judgment for the fight. And we think that, you know, if your stuff is out of line, like you said, this is a good point. Have them come and discuss what they saw in every fight. And explain what they did. And then if it's out of line, put them under review.
That's right.
File a petition or what's the name, and they should be held to the standard. I think that, like you said, the way that they are able to supplement their bodies need to be universal.
The referee too. Could you go to a post-fight press conference too?
Exactly. And explain and explain himself. Because there have been many of fights who have changed off the course of a referee.
Yeah.
And you know, for the good and for the worst.
And they don't have to answer to nothing. They just leave.
At all.
Now, some of them answer questions, but they don't have to. If they don't want to, they don't have to. They should be forced to go to a post-fight press conference, face the media, just like the fighters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think these things will help impact the sport in a much, much better way than what we've seen.
It definitely will help. You know, you got to answer for these things. You're going to think about a little, and if you're trying to be corrupt, you're going to think twice about it, because you're going to have to answer for exactly what you saw. Like, you call this effective aggression, and you know it's really not. You're not going to give them credit for it. You're going to have to answer for it. But if you don't have to answer for it, you just go and put it. Yeah, I gave him that round for effective aggression, even though he wasn't effective. And you just get up and leave. You don't have to answer to anybody. I don't think
so how we see the fight may be different. What we view it may be different, but what we're viewing should not be different. Like, it should be the same standard. So we need to have a clear understanding and definition of what effective. So what we're judging is this. What do you believe this is? And if it doesn't match what it should be a clear statement of what it is, so that when people are judging it, they know exactly what they should be looking for. Mm-hmm. Not something that they construe as something else. So, like, I see that, you know, there are so many things. And you know, the biggest thing that causes this stuff is the corruption that is with the sport.
I know.
You know, anything that entertains us, it entertains us for a purpose. It's to distract us. Mm-hmm. And these distractions allow for people to do what they really want to do.
They can very easily,
you know, when anything major shift. Mm-hmm. Exactly.
They don't want
to. So because it's such a because it's such a distraction, that means there's a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that they don't want us to know about.
Mm-hmm. And we so worried about.
But I do agree with you, though.
What's really going on, you know?
Yeah, I do agree with you, and I think that post conferences should not be optional. That should be mandatory.
It is.
You should have to speak.
The fighters have to go. They can't just say, "No, I ain't going to it." You get fined or something, don't you? You got to go to those. You got to face the media after the fight. You know. And then, like you were saying, if a referee see effective aggression a certain way and gave a fighter a round, go to the press conference and explain how you see it. Then, you know. Sit there and
I'm glad you said that too, Cash, just like that right now. The person who has the best vantage point in the fight is who?
The referee, ain't it?
He should be a judge. He should be a judge. If there is some, go ahead. My bad.
I said they used to. That's all. Remember?
They used to. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember, and I know there are some bouts that still take place where he is the ultimate judge. Like, he'll raise the hand of it or he saw as the winner.
They should be at least. You can have two judges and a referee. You know.
So I think that if you suspect, and that should be open too. Like, oh no, I openly question that judge's scorecard. I want to move to the referee, or I want to move to the people in the back, or the backup judges, because you're talking about the course of people's career. Now, I know money is behind everything.
Yeah.
So usually it goes along with wherever the money is. But if somebody deserves something, and it was clearly, Maxie Hughes clearly beat George Kambosos. Clearly beat him.
That directly affected his money. You know, he should have got the loan.
Cash.
That
greatly because he would have been exactly. He would have been fighting Loma. A bigger payday.
Yeah. So they don't know
a bigger opportunity.
Being corrupt like that, you know. Yeah. Can it mess up their whole career path?
Absolutely. There's no recourse. There's no recourse for them to do these things. They do it and it's okay. It's acceptable.
And that's it. They just go
And
on
that's not
walk on
okay.
through the night. And don't even have to answer for it. Just get ready to judge your next when
Have
they get
no
called.
answer at all.
Mhm. Just wait for the next call to judge another fight. That's it. That's gonna mess
And
with
then they mess over so many people.
yeah.
Go ahead.
That's
My bad.
crazy.
Go ahead.
No, it's crazy, ain't it?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was
No,
agreeing with
but
you.
what were you about to say? What were you about to say,
No, I
though?
was
You were
just
about to
saying.
expound on it.
I was just saying how they can mess up this fighter's career by judging this fight being corrupt, and then just leave the arena and wait for the call for the next fight to judge. No kind of recourse. Don't have to answer for anything. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And because of that, these people be B-side fighters for life, or what they call them, journeymen and things like that, when they
Yeah.
could have been someone super special to the viewing public. And you know, that's the coldest part, because like I stand on that fact. I've seen robberies before, and Maxie Hughes got robbed.
Yeah.
And it's crazy that the only people who justify his fight and saying Loma won are people who want to justify a certain fighter's resume.
That's all.
Bro, there was no way. It's like I was like, man, I looked at that fight 3 times.
Yeah,
I'm hard pressed to give him one round. One round.
I gave him 2, and I'm trying to find rounds to give him.
You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the only amount of rounds you could really give him.
Yeah,
I said at the worst, Maxie Hughes won that fight 10-2. At the best, he won 12-0.
Oh, yeah.
I said, but he did not lose no more than 2 rounds in that fight. And yet he lost the fight, and unanimously too.
I know, all 3 of them. So you know that was prearranged.
Somebody got to explain. And Cass, we knew it was going to be that, because it took 15 minutes for them to come to the. Come on now.
A long time. Now, see, if they had the post-fight for the press conference for the judges, that wouldn't have happened, because they would have had. There's no way they could explain that away. So they would have had to give it to Maxie Hughes. They couldn't sit up in front of no media and explain giving that fight to Cambosa, but they didn't have to.
You know? No, absolutely. And you know another thing that I think they should be doing? They should start making unifications also mandated and ordered.
Yeah.
I think there should be a rule in play, a stipulation that allows for them, after a certain amount of mandatories, that okay, this is, and it should go in succession. Okay, so this body gets the mandatory,
right?
And then after that one, this one falls in line, and this one, so that if the champions are going in, because it's 4 bodies, so for this one, the next one in line is for that. For this one, the next one in line is this body, and for this one, the next one in line is that body. So that way, you know, we can often, when they ain't fighting nobody and mandatories aren't really the fight in the now or the moment, they could order a dang unification, and we could get some fights that way.
We've got some good fights going on, you know.
So I would like to see something like that come into play as well too, man. I think that, you know, moving forward, so many things that cause for a lot of people to say, see, this is why I don't watch boxing. They need to get that away, so that they can't have that to be said of boxing. Nah, like I said, we said, you know, we know that there's some things that take place behind the scenes that are the reason why we see certain things.
Yeah. And they don't have no incentive to stop, because they get away with it. So why would they stop being corrupt? There's no reason to. They get away with it. They get paid. They make
exactly.
So
exactly. Make good money off of it.
Yeah, so why would they stop? You know?
And it seems like sometimes they're making good money underneath the table, man, because of some of the things that they do. So yeah, I hear you on that one. I fully believe that they should be able to order to go to a press conference and explain what they saw in the ring and why they scored it a certain way, and what they were, And I do believe that they do need to make people aware of what they should, because everybody should be looking for the same things
Same
and knowing
thing.
and knowing how to judge that too. Okay, well, this is what we deem is effective aggression. This is what we're looking for to how off of that criteria, and this is what defense should look like, and this is what we're looking for as a representation of how we're going to score it. And this is what ring general looks like.
And even when they get the fight
cleaner
right,
up.
even if they get it right, how can one judge say, well, even if say you won the fight, they give it to you. One say 115, 113, one say 118, 110. How can they see the same fight so differently if they're using the same criteria? It's a problem with that too.
That's a great question. That's a great question. And that's why that needs to be explained.
The same rap, but you see the 115, 113, like 7-5 and 118, 110 is what, like 10-2 or something like that? How can you see the fight so different?
Yeah, no.
The same
exactly.
thing
And, yeah, exactly. And your vantage point can't be that skewed where you saw it that differently.
Yeah. We know they ain't gonna all see exactly the same, but that wide of a disparity, no way.
So maybe they need to be moved to places where they can see the fight either clearer, or so maybe they need to be moved where they can see the fight clearer, or maybe where they have a better vantage point.
I like what
to
you
make
said,
a decision, or maybe they need to
put them up. So I'm looking that, like, remember what you had said before? Have them.
Have a bird's eye view.
Yeah, instead of looking down.
Close but up. Close but up. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're kind of like looking up now, where they sitting on the apron. They like level with the fighters.
Yeah, and that's tough. Yeah, that's that. Yeah, you're no, aren't they below?
Below, right?
They're below it. So yeah, they still got to look past that thing too. The tarmac or whatever that is that's on the canvas. They're below that level, right? So they got to look even above that. So yeah, I don't know. I think they need to adjust that.
At least put them up at least to the top rope. That'd be better.
For sure.
Yeah. And they could do it, but like we said, they don't want to. There's nobody.
Nah, they don't want to. But those are things. And like you said, that answering, they should be made to explain what they saw and how they judged it, and it should add up to what they've been instructed as what they should look for and how to judge it in a fight. And if it don't add up, oh man, it's time to handle them.
Problem, yeah.
But hey, man, this was a fantastic show there, Kaz. A great show.
Yeah.
And I know you talked a little bit, you touched a little bit on Sugar Ray, man. Shout out to the good brother Bruce Gas. I think one day we should have Bruce Gas come and join the show. Try to get him to join the show, because he's seen a whole lot of boxing too. He was talking about, that good brother Charles Burley, and now Sugar Ray didn't seem to want to fight old Charles Burley. So one day I'm gonna talk to him, and I'm gonna start to see him. I'm trying to send him your way.
Yeah, that'd be good.
We can get him on.
Especially that era around the 70s, 80s. Bruce Gas know that, like 70s, 80s. Ooh. He know that era, like, wow.
He's reaching.
Especially that.
Yeah, he's got a sharp mind, man. He still remembers things well. So yeah, I would love to have you guys have a conversation. Sit back and just listen to that.
His father was that. He said his father was that. Ali listened to the Phantom Punch.
Yeah, he said that.
His father was that fight.
Yeah.
The Phantom Punch.
The Phantom Punch where they said he had to go use the bathroom. He had diarrhea. He had to get out of there.
Yeah, at the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. For sure. So that was good times. But great show again, man. Thanks for allowing me up.
Appreciate you coming up.
Josh for the glitching on my stuff. But shout out to everybody that came and supported. I mean, Technique, The Way of Things, my main man, the champ, Mike Magic, Mike Rim, the Fisherman, the Notorious One, BVO Sports, Boxing Menu, Cast. Shout out to that great brother. I haven't seen him in a good minute. And the better half, Mrs. Kaz. And of course, the Boxtorian, where you can come and find everything you need to know about the sport of boxing in any way, shape, or form. From the big man to put on the thing to the little man behind the scenes of putting on the thing. And from the places that they put them on at in the time frames, man, you're going to find everything you need to know about the sport that we love called boxing. He is Kaz Sports, the Boxtorian. He is also AKA 2 O'Clock Shorty. He comes on Monday through Friday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Welcome to Bang the Cash App. Comment and definitely share the videos. You guys have a wonderful day. And Just Do Boxing is on. You can find my man giving boxing its just due, and like only he can do it. So you can make your way there, but hope to see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And you guys have a wonderful day, and I'm out.